This really isn't how I imagined our first proper evening together. Not because of the kidnapping part. That part went more or less according to schedule. No, the disappointing part is your expression. You look so worried. I spent weeks imagining this moment, and in every version of it you looked surprised, maybe confused, maybe even impressed by the planning. But I never pictured fear. That wasn't in any of my rehearsals. Still, life has a way of improvising. You should sit back down. Please. Thank you. See, already we're compromising. Relationships need compromise. That's healthy. You keep looking at the door. I noticed that immediately. You've looked at it 12 times since waking up. 13 now. It's almost sweet. Like watching someone continue pressing on elevator buttons after the doors have already closed. The pressing isn't accomplishing anything. But it feels productive. Comforting. Human. I understand. I don't mind. You can keep looking at it if it helps. But the door isn't going anywhere. And neither are you. That was supposed to sound reassuring, but I think it came out wrong. I'm still adjusting to speaking out loud instead of practicing conversations in my head. In my head, this went much smoother. You smiled earlier. Not a happy smile. More the kind people make when they're trying to convince themselves something absurd isn't real. I liked it anyway. I've seen your real smile before. Hundreds of times. You smile differently depending on the audience. Did you know that? The polite smile for co-workers, the apologetic smile for strangers, and the tired smile for cashiers when you've had a long day. The real one is smaller, quieter. You only use it when you forget someone is watching. That's my favourite one. I think, eventually, you'll use it around me too. Oh no, don't shake your head like that. You're deciding things too quickly. People decide all kinds of things in moments of fear. Very few of these decisions survive long enough to become truth. Right now, you've decided I'm a monster. I understand why. A stranger takes you somewhere unfamiliar. You wake up and realise your choices have become, well, limited. It's an upsetting experience. But monsters don't tuck blankets around people's shoulders because the room feels cold. Monsters don't remember to bring water. And monsters don't spend 20 minutes wondering whether the lighting is too harsh. See, I dimmed the lamp for you. You squint when lights are too bright. You probably haven't noticed that about yourself, but I did. You want to know how long I've known you? Long enough. That's probably the best answer. Short enough that I still get excited when I learn something new. Long enough that your routines feel familiar. long enough that Tuesday means tomato soup and Friday means takeaway. Long enough that I know when your shoulders hurt because you roll your neck a certain way. Long enough that I can tell the difference between your tired footsteps and your angry footsteps. And that your silence sounds different depending on what you're thinking. That's intimacy, isn't it? Knowing someone that thoroughly. Most couples spend years trying to reach that point. We're ahead of schedule. Efficient. I like efficiency. No, I don't think this is normal. You keep looking relieved when I admit things like that. As if self-awareness somehow fixes everything. I know this isn't normal. I know most people don't plan around another person's routines. I know most people don't rearrange their lives around someone else's existence. I know. Knowing and stopping are different skills. Unfortunately, I only mastered one of them. You're angry now. Good. Anger means you're adapting. Fear burns too quickly. People can't stay terrified forever. Eventually the mind gets tired and then anger arrives. Then bargaining. And acceptance. Humans are beautifully predictable. Actually, that sounded manipulative. Maybe don't listen to me about human psychology. I'm clearly biased. There it is, the offer. Money. You think this is about money? That's adorable. What exactly do you think this operation cost? The planning alone probably exceeds whatever is currently in your bank account. No offence. You spend too much on coffee and books, especially books you never finish. You leave bookmarks at page 73 with alarming consistency. I think page 73 might be your natural habitat. No, I don't want your money. I don't want valuables. I don't want information. I don't even particularly want gratitude. I want significance. I want to matter to someone the way they matter to me. Do you know how rare that is? People throw around words like love and connection and soulmates while checking notifications halfway through conversations. People sit across from each other in restaurants staring at screens. People say forever while already planning exits. Everyone wants devotion, but nobody wants to provide it. Then I came along, and suddenly devotion became frightening. Life is funny that way. You asked if anyone knows where you are. That depends how precise we're being. Knows exactly? No. Expects you home tonight? Probably. Will panic immediately? Almost certainly not. People are busier than they like to admit. Modern life trains people to explain absence away. Missed calls become dead batteries. Cancelled plans become exhaustion. Disappearing becomes needing space. Adults vanish in small ways all the time. The world has practiced not noticing. That's one of the reasons this was possible. Not because you're not important. Because everyone is harder to find than they think. Oh, that wasn't meant to upset you. Although judging by your face, I may have missed the target. Sorry. I'm trying very hard to make this easier for you. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a comforting way to explain abduction. Trust me, I looked. You know what part surprises me? Not that you're here. That part makes perfect sense to me. The surprising part is how natural this feels. Talking to you like this. Watching your expressions. And hearing your voice answer mine. It feels strangely domestic. Like we've skipped over years of awkward introductions and landed somewhere familiar. Like we've been having conversations for ages and only just remembered. Maybe that's delusional. Actually, no, definitely delusional. Let's not undersell it. But it feels true anyway. I think that's what scares people about obsession. Not the intensity, the sincerity. If I were lying, this would probably be less disturbing. If I were pretending, it would be easier to dismiss. But I mean every word. That's the problem. You keep asking why. Why you? I don't know how to answer that without sounding poetic. You were kind when nobody was looking. You thanked bus drivers. You moved shopping carts out of parking spaces. You stopped to help people who inconvenienced you. You looked tired all the time and still found energy for everyone else. You carried entire conversations for people who gave nothing back, and you kept pieces of yourself away like you assumed they were infinite. Someone should have appreciated that properly. So I did. No, I don't think appreciation normally looks like this either. We're already established that my methods need work. Try to focus on intentions. The intentions are excellent. The execution is where things become controversial. You look horrified that I just said that. Fair enough. That one probably sounded worse out loud. Would it help if I told you I was nervous too? I was. Terrified, actually. You think you're the only one whose life changed tonight. Mine did too. For months you existed at a distance, predictable, observable, safe. And now you're here. Real, talking back, looking at me. Suddenly, I can disappoint you. That possibility is horrifying. You think I deserve that fear? Maybe. But deserving something doesn't make experiencing it easier. Do you know how many times I almost stopped this? How many times I decided I was being ridiculous? How many times I promised myself I would walk away? Hundreds, probably more. But then I'd see you again, carrying groceries alone, eating lunch alone, walking home alone, existing as if nobody in the world was paying attention, and I'd remember that somebody was me. Always me. No, don't misunderstand. This wasn't altruism. I wasn't protecting you for your benefit. I was protecting something precious because it was precious to me. That's selfish. I know that. Love and selfishness share more walls than people like admitting. You know what I hate about romantic films? The grand gesture, the airport chase, the rain confession, the dramatic interruption. Everyone claps because persistence becomes romantic at exactly the right moment. Miss the timing and suddenly you're terrifying. It's fascinating. Human beings don't judge action nearly as much as outcomes. If someone stays, it's romantic. If someone leaves, it's horror. Same behaviour, different ending. No, I'm not saying this is romantic because you'll eventually fall in love with me. That's ridiculous. Statistically unlikely, honestly. I'm saying that from my side. It already feels romantic. That's the strange part. I arranged flowers before you arrived. I worried whether you'd be comfortable. I rehearsed introductions and I cared whether you were frightened. Everything in my head looked uncomfortably close to affection. Then reality arrived and reminded me that affection usually requires consent. Awkward oversight. You laughed. That was definitely a laugh. Small, confused, concerned for my mental state, but still technically a laugh. I'm counting it. Oh. You know something horrible? I think one day this will become a story. Maybe not a happy story. Maybe not even a survivable story for us as people, but a story. And stories are strange things. They sand down edges. They rearrange emotions. They change villains into tragedies and tragedies into warnings. Years later, someone says it aloud, and suddenly everyone starts arguing about motives instead of consequences. Humans love explanations. They think explanations and excuses are neighbours. They're not. I know what this is. I know what I've done. I know exactly how frightening I must seem. The terrifying part is that knowing all of that didn't stop me. That's probably the sentence that should worry you most. Not the locks. Not the planning. Not even the certainty. The worrying part is the arithmetic. Need plus fear plus time somehow became permission. Somewhere along the way my feelings started sounding reasonable to me. That's how people become disasters. Not all at once. One justified thought at a time. You look tired. Exhausted, actually. That's normal. Shock consumes energy. Your body is trying to decide whether to fight, run, freeze, negotiate, or wake up from a nightmare. It's doing too many jobs at once. Here, drink some water. Please. Thank you. See, you still trust me enough to take the glass. Humans are incredible, even now, even here. Part of you still wants to believe kindness means safety. I almost envy that. No, I won't hurt you. I know that's what everyone says, especially people who shouldn't be trusted, but I'm saying it anyway because it's true. I'm not interested in pain. I'm interested in proximity. Possession is ugly. Closeness sounds nicer. Even if the distance between those ideas is smaller than I'd like. You know what the worst part is? I think if circumstances were different, we'd actually get along. I think we'd have argued about films and shared meals and complained about weather. I think we would have laughed. That possibility feels strangely tragic. Like standing in the ruins of a future that never existed. Maybe that's why I sound sad. Because part of me knows this moment destroys the very thing it wanted. You can't force safety. You can't manufacture trust. You can't kidnap affection and expect it to survive the journey. I know that. I do. And yet, here we are. You should know something. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect understanding. I don't even expect you to stop being afraid. I just couldn't bear disappearing from your life without ever existing in it at first. Selfish. Again. Everything keeps returning to selfishness. The funny thing is, I don't feel monstrous. That's probably the most monstrous part. But I feel nervous, hopeful, protective, excited that you're finally here listening to me. My emotions look alarmingly ordinary from the inside. I think that's true for most terrible things. They rarely feel terrible while they're happening. They feel necessary. The room is quiet. You're thinking, I can tell. You stare slightly to the left when you're trying to solve problems. You do that a lot. Maybe you're wondering whether rescue is coming. Maybe it is. Plans fail. People get lucky. Doors open. Lives change. The universe refuses to cooperate with certainty. I know that better than most. But right now, it's just us. You, me, my terrible decisions, your terrible luck, and this conversation that somehow sounds more like a date than a crime scene. That's probably the worst thing I've said all night. Actually, no. The worst thing I've said all night is probably this. Part of me is happy. Not because you're frightened, never that. Because for the first time, when I speak, you have no choice but to listen. Do you hear it? The ugly part hiding underneath everything else, underneath the concern, the care, gentleness, the soft voice, the patience. There it is, the hunger, not for your pain, but for your attention, for your time, for space inside your life that nobody else gets to occupy. That's what all this was really for. Not possession, and not ownership, importance. I wanted to become impossible to ignore. Congratulations to me, I suppose. Mission accomplished. You know, I think that's when the voice in your head finally changes. Not when you realise someone dangerous is standing in front of you. When you realise they genuinely believe they're standing beside you instead. That's the moment people become afraid. Because monsters are easier. Monsters know they're monsters. I still think I brought flowers to something romantic. And maybe that's the most frightening thing about me. Not what I did. Not how carefully I planned it. Not even how calmly I'm speaking. The frightening thing is that somewhere inside my head, this still feels heartbreakingly close to love.